All right, welcome. Today, we're going to build a strategic map of the U.S. e-commerce ecosystem. Our goal is simple, to get a crystal clear picture of this massive landscape, to pinpoint where value is created, where it gets captured, and what key trends are reshaping the entire battlefield. This is really our guide for understanding where the real money is made online.
So why does this matter so much right now? Well, check this out. We're looking at a projected compound annual growth rate of 16.4% straight through to 2030. Now, that isn't just small, incremental growth. It's a fundamental rewiring of American retail. It's creating enormous opportunities and, enormous risks for investors who can actually see the board clearly. The scale is just staggering. And understanding the structure of it all, well, that's everything.
At the very heart of this ecosystem is a core conflict, really a battle between two competing philosophies that defines just about every decision a merchant has to make. On one side, you've got Amazon's model. We're calling it the integrated fortress. It's a vertically integrated, closed ecosystem that provides everything, storefront, delivery, you name it, but it demands loyalty and a very steep price. And on the other side, you've got the Open Alliance, championed by Shopify, a modular, partnership-driven model that gives independent brands the power to build their own destiny. This strategic choice, access versus control, is the central idea of our entire analysis today.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll frame the battlefield itself. Then, we'll map out the entire value chain stage by stage. From there, we'll do a couple of deep dives into two key areas, the high-margin digital chokeholds and the capital-intensive physical gauntlet. After that, we'll follow the money to see where profits really pile up. And we'll finish by looking ahead at the big competitive shifts that are going to define the future.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Remember that central conflict we just talked about, the fortress versus the alliance? Keep that in the back of your mind, because it influences every single step of the journey we're about to take, all the way from the factory floor to the customer's front door. It shapes strategy, profitability, and where durable, long-term value can actually be built. And here it is. This is the fundamental map of that battlefield. It all starts with manufacturing, getting the product made. From there, it moves to inbound logistics, which is all about shipping it into the country. Then it hits the digital layers, the storefront where you actually shop, and the payment system that handles the transaction. And finally, it enters that physical gauntlet, fulfillment in a warehouse, and then the critical last-mile delivery right to the customer. This is the journey every single physical product in e-commerce takes.
All right, so let's begin right where every product does, the upstream foundation. These are the less visible but absolutely critical first steps of getting a product made and ready for sale here in the US.
Manufacturing, for the most part, is a globally fragmented and, frankly, a brutally competitive game. For contract manufacturers like a Foxconn, you're talking about razor-thin net margins, often just 2 to 3%. The real power here lies with brands like Procter & Gamble that own the intellectual property, or with these disruptive models like Shein and Temu that connect directly with factory networks. But the biggest story here is a huge strategic pivot to nearshoring. Get this, in 2023, for the first time in 2 decades, Mexico actually passed China as the top exporter of goods to the US. That's a direct result of everyone searching for more resilient supply chains.
So once the goods are made, they have to get here. And in inbound logistics, power gets a lot more concentrated. Ocean shipping is basically an oligopoly. Just 3 alliances, led by giants like Maersk, MSC, and CMA CGM, control more than half of the world's container capacity. Once they're here, goods move by rail, dominated by players like BNSF and Union Pacific, or by truck with leaders like J.B. Hunt. But the defining trend to watch, Amazon. It's moving aggressively to control this stage itself, arranging its own ocean freight to cut out the middlemen and master its own costs. Okay, now we move from the physical world of ships and trucks to the digital world, where the economics completely flip on their head. This is where we find the chokeholds, those points in the value chain where high margins, powerful network effects, and data aggregation create incredible pricing power. And the first most powerful digital chokehold is the storefront. Just look at this. You have to see Amazon's dominance here. And nearly 38% of the entire US e-commerce market, its share is larger than its next 9 competitors combined. Walmart, its main challenger, is way back at just over 6%. This isn't just leadership, it's a gravitational force pulling in both sellers and buyers. And this quote from a retailer really cuts right to the heart of Amazon's moat. It's a self-reinforcing flywheel.
The massive logistics network enables Prime's fast shipping, which locks in the customers. And that enormous customer traffic, in turn, makes Amazon an essential, non-negotiable channel for third-party sellers, who, by the way, now account for over 60% of the sales on the platform. It just keeps feeding itself.
So this really sets up the two dominant models. Amazon offers an all-in-one package. You get access to its marketplace, its fulfillment by Amazon Logistics, the Prime ecosystem, and now a massive, super high-margin advertising business. Shopify offers the alternative, a software platform that gives independent brands the tools to build their own store. It doesn't own any inventory and makes money on subscriptions and merchant services. It really is the classic choice. Do you borrow an audience or do you build your own?
And if you want to see what that choice looks like in real numbers, get a load of this. In 2023, the average take from one of Amazon's third-party sellers, when you combine their referral fees, fulfillment fees, and the now essential ad spend, it reached a staggering 45% of that seller's revenue. I mean, think about that. For every single dollar a seller makes on the platform, Amazon can capture nearly half of it. This shows you exactly how value is concentrating at the platform level.
All right, the next digital chokehold is payments. Nearly every single transaction that happens online has to pass through a financial network. And for card-based payments here in the US, this basically means paying a fee to a duopoly that operates as a mandatory toll booth on the digital highway.
And wow, is it a profitable toll booth? This chart says it all. Look at the operating margins for Visa and MasterCard. We're talking about margins in the 60% range. Just for context, an asset-heavy logistics operator like UPS runs at about 12%. The contrast is just incredible, and it highlights the profitability of these asset-light, network-based businesses that have become essential infrastructure.
Now, within the processing layer that sits on top of those networks, experts see a really clear split. Stripe is absolutely dominating with its developer-first, API-driven approach, which makes it the go-to for startups and tech platforms. Adyen is winning in the enterprise and omni-channel space. And as one expert put it, this leaves legacy players like PayPal caught somewhere in between, getting squeezed from both ends of the market. Specialization is clearly winning the day.
All right, we're now leaving that high-margin digital world and entering what we're calling the Physical Gauntlet. This is the asset-heavy, operationally complex world of fulfillment and delivery where physical scale and capital intensity are the primary weapons.
At the heart of e-commerce operations is fulfillment, and this landscape is utterly dominated by Amazon's network of over 1,200 facilities. Its Fulfillment by Amazon, or FBA service, is the key that unlocks Prime speed for millions of third-party sellers. Now, there are other major players, like GXO, DHL, and tech-focused outfits like ShipBob, but nobody even comes close to Amazon's scale. And to keep that edge, the entire industry is pouring billions into robotics and automation to drive more speed and efficiency. Okay, once a package is picked and packed, it enters the last mile. And what this chart shows us is, frankly, a massive disruption. The US Postal Service is still the volume leader, but look at Amazon Logistics. In about a decade, it has built an in-house delivery network that has surged past FedEx to become the second largest parcel carrier by volume in the entire country, breathing down the necks of USPS and UPS. This is a seismic disruption of a decades-old oligopoly.
So this table just breaks down that competitive landscape really quickly. You have the USPS, a government enterprise with a mandate to deliver everywhere, no matter what. You have Amazon, completely vertically integrated and focused only on serving its Prime ecosystem for speed and cost control. And then you have the legacy carriers, UPS with its unionized workforce zeroing in on profitable B2B deliveries, and FedEx with its contractor model managing separate express and ground networks. Every player here has a different model and a totally different strategic priority. Okay, so we've mapped the chain, we've met the players, now for the big one. Let's follow the money to quantitatively prove where profits and long-term value are actually concentrating in this entire ecosystem. So let's break down a hypothetical $100 online purchase. It is astounding how much value gets captured before the seller, the person who actually made or sourced the product, sees a single dime. The platform and its ad fees can take a massive chunk, somewhere between $25 and $40. Payment processors skim off another $2 to $3. Delivery costs another $5 to $10. So that leaves the seller with whatever is left to cover the cost of their goods and, hopefully, a little bit of profit. And if that last slide didn't make it clear enough, look at this chart. This is the economic reality. The asset-light digital players, the platforms and payment networks, are operating with incredible 50–70% operating margins.
In stark contrast, the capital-intensive physical players, logistics providers, manufacturers, are working with margins of just 2–15%. It's a chasm. It shows a clear, massive divide between the digital gatekeepers and the physical operators.
And finally, if you just look at what the market thinks, what the market values, the story is exactly the same. The enterprise values of the platform and network players are an order of magnitude larger than even the biggest logistics players. Amazon and the combined Visa/MasterCard duopoly are each valued at over $1 trillion. Meanwhile, logistics giants like UPS and FedEx are valued at a tiny fraction of that. The market has sent a very clear signal, rewarding these scalable, high-margin, network-based models.
Okay, so where do we go from here? The battlefield isn't static. There are key trends already reshaping the chain, creating new opportunities for investment and new risks for the incumbents.
There are 5 critical trends you have to watch. First up, retail media networks. That's selling ads on sites like Amazon and Walmart. They are absolutely exploding. It's an incredibly high-margin business, projected to be a $250 billion industry very soon. Second, the push for supply chain resilience continues, driving that nearshoring trend. Third, social commerce from players like Temu and TikTok Shop is challenging the status quo with new discovery-based shopping models. Fourth, AI and automation are becoming table stakes for efficiency in logistics. And fifth, and this is probably the most important of all, is the growing concentration of data.
Because at the end of the day, beyond the physical scale or even the platform network effects, the ultimate, most defensible moat is becoming the control of data. The ability to collect, analyze, and act on vast amounts of customer and supply chain data. That's going to be the key determinant of who wins the next decade of e-commerce.
All right, so let's wrap this up. What's the big takeaway here? Let's crystallize the investment thesis.
The primary conclusion is this: participating in the e-commerce value chain is absolutely essential for modern retail, but the profitability across that chain is incredibly and structurally uneven.
So, to summarize where the most durable profits are really found, they're concentrated in the asset-light, network-driven segments. That's the platforms like Amazon, the payment networks like Visa and MasterCard, and those emerging retail media businesses. In contrast, the physical, capital-heavy segments like logistics and manufacturing are going to remain intensely competitive with really compressed margins.
So I'll leave you with this question. The battlefield is clearly defined, and the current profit pools are pretty well understood. The critical question for all of us as investors is this: as technology, and most importantly data, continue to reshape every single link in this chain, where will the next truly defensible moat be built?